All right, who's ready for a raffle drawing? All right, well, first, thanks for being here. We appreciate your time. Just for everyone's awareness, this is the Talking Cardboard Room. We are a group of content creators that are from Minnesota. So if you're not familiar with Talking Cardboard, you are now. And please, if you haven't already, follow and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We also do a few other different media outlets such as TikTok, X, etc. But without further ado, let's just get right into this raffle drawing. We continue to iterate how we do the process here, so appreciate your understanding with that. How we're going to do this is, you'll notice there are still some raffle prizes on the back table there. That's because we are doing this again tomorrow. So if you are here tomorrow, come back again and just say that either you have subscribed or if not, please subscribe to Talking Cardboard for a complimentary and raffle ticket. And then again, if you are doing any event in this room tomorrow, you get an additional ticket for that. Also, to I think keep this as simple as possible, we're just going to do a raffle ticket, and when you come up, if you're a winner, please pick which option of prizes on this table that you're most interested in, and that way hopefully everyone walks away with something they want to play. And before we do that, also a huge thanks to all of our raffle prize donors. So we have Games by James, Moon Crabs, Fantasy Flight. Yeah, please give these guys a round of applause. Fantasy Flight Games, Captain Adams, Apple Games, Stoneblade Entertainment, Leader Games, and then Thunderstone Games. And most of these companies are pretty much all local Minnesota companies, so that's what also makes us very cool. All right. First ticket is 953264. 953. Yay! So your choice of anything on the table.
Let's go buy a wild.
Oh, that's a great choice. Here you go.
Thank you. He was probably here like, I didn't keep that.
Okay, awesome. One other thing that I did not mention yet is right after this we're doing the board game panel. That's why these three gentlemen are on the stage with me. We will be doing raffle drawings throughout the panel. So if you want better chance of winning more, stay for the panel. During the panel, we're going to be giving away two $50 gift cards to Games by James, courtesy of Games by James. $50 gift card. That means you get to pick whatever you want in the Games by James store, and they have a wonderful selection. So keep that in mind. Next ticket is 953414.
Hey!
Woo! Round of applause for the winner. Ahoy from Leader Games. Great, thank you. Perfect, all right, moving on. The next raffle ticket winner goes to 953262. 953262.
That's me.
I request pets courtesy of Dead Alive Games. Good choice. All right, next raffle prize winner, 953361. 953361. We have a winner. Round of applause.
Because he was here earlier.
Yeah, I guess. it together. Yep.
Factions Battlegrounds, courtesy of Factions Battlegrounds LLC. Beat Ferry. All right. Only a few left here. Next winner is 953-369. 953-369. We have a winner. Oh, man. All right, just 2 prizes left. Great options, though. We have Cosmic Encounter from Fantasy Flight Games, and then Lunar Rush from Dead Alive with us here tonight. Next winner is 953-411. 953-411. Woo! 411 I called, and I got a winner. Courtesy of Dead Alive. And last but not least, Cosmic Encounter. A game I always hear Tom Vassell from Dice Tower talk a lot about. I've been to play it myself, but here it's a good game. 953-338. 953-338.
I actually have that.
All right. He actually has it, everyone. And going home with a brand new copy of Cosmic Encounter, courtesy of Fantasy Flight Games. So once again, thanks to all of the donors for their generosity in providing us those prizes. We'll now move on into the Talking Cardboard board game panel. And again, we are going to be doing raffles intermittently for $50 gift cards to Games by James. But obviously, if you need to move on for the rest of your evening, thank you for participating in the raffle. All right, moving right along into the Talking Cardboard board game panel. First, I want to thank the panelists that are here tonight for their time and energy. Obviously, they don't have to be here, but they're doing so because they are excited about promoting the hobby. Of course, their company as well, but obviously, everyone I think in the hobby understands that we all are on the same team. So, round of applause for the panelists tonight. Also, real quick, I said I'd do this for my dad. Just a quick shout out to our sponsor, Dotson Rod Inc., CPA, CFP, CSA. He's in the back there. He runs a small business accounting firm if you need any tax questions. Future man. He doesn't have a website, but that's how you know he needs business, because he doesn't have a website. But he did tell me this is a legitimate offer, 20% off a tax return. So if you, that's an offer, take that to the bank, tell them Talking Cardboard sent you. All right. Moving on, who's Talking Cardboard? I briefly mentioned who we were earlier, but if you're not already familiar with us, we're a group of local Minnesota content creators. Myself, we're really a group of 5 as shown on here: Ryan, Nick, Corey, John, and Jurch. Right now in the room tonight are myself, Nick, and then Corey over here manning camera and lighting, so round of applause for Corey. And if it's not, I didn't say this until now, but if it's not obvious, we are trying to do some filming here so we can put this on our Talking Cardboard YouTube page for generations to come to watch how amazing a show this night was. This is going to be talked about for generations. Legendary, thank you. All right, and as I mentioned, we do YouTube, podcast, Discord, live stream. We really just want to open up this hobby to as many people as we can. A lot of people, of course, at the con probably already very familiar with the hobby and the different types of board games that exist, but there's hundreds and thousands of people outside the world of hobby board gaming we feel don't understand the number of games, the types of games, and we really hope to reach that audience as well. One other quick plug I want to do is for our Extra Life campaign. Talking Cardboard does have its own Extra Life fund. If you want to donate, the donations go directly to Extra Life. This is the QR code, and if you at least donate $5, we're happy to give you one of our custom Talking Cardboard logo dice. And feel free to ask for more details after the show, or we have the QR code back there as well, and happy to lend a dice for that. We also, during the year, try to do a 24-hour gaming marathon, and during that gaming marathon, We live stream us playing all sorts of board games, and during that time we're also trying to raise money for Extra Life, a charity that supports the Gillette Children's Hospitals Foundation. And then this is the screen that you'd be taken to in case you're wondering with that QR code. So, something that I'm trying for a second time, last night I tried this during our Talking Cardboard live show, is doing a QR code for questions. So if anyone's interested, you can scan this QR code and it will take you to a survey site called Slido to ask a question, board game industry question, for the panelists. Anything that you think would be of interest to you that's related to the board gaming hobby. Again, obviously, industry related, like how to get into the hobby, or how to get into publishing a game, designing games, that sort of thing, running a game store. I'll be showing this QR code towards the end again when we do the question and answer segment, but I'm putting it up here now in case you immediately have a question in mind that you want to ask to get that to the top of the queue. All right. So again, I'll show that again in case you were still trying to get that to work. But let's get to meeting the panel. First off, we have Jacob Thull, Games by James. He's the lead buyer for Games by James. And if you're not familiar with Games by James, they're a one-stop game shop, party games, strategy games, jigsaw puzzles, dice, chess, cribbage, and more. There's something for everyone. So here's an image of one of the retail locations. They have a few throughout the metro area. And then it's St. Cloud or St.
Cloud and Eau Claire.
St. Cloud and Eau Claire as well. And then I did a TikTok, I'm plugging our own content here, but if you want to see some video footage of a game store, one of the Games by James stores at Mall of America, I have a TikTok of that. They, like I said, have a great selection considering the amount of floor space they have. And again, some lucky winners are going to get a gift card from them later this show. And then also, again, they donated the content and all the gift bags for the first 30 attendees for tonight. Next we have Brendan Kendrik of Dead Alive Games. He's co-owner in charge of manufacturing. Yeah, round of applause, why not? And a billion other things. I had each of them send me these, so I didn't come up with them myself, for better or for worse. And Dead or Alive now has a few published titles. Omicron Protocol, I think, was the first game. More of I would classify as sci-fi themed dungeon crawl type game, rolling dice, can be played cooperatively or competitively. But more recently published Lunar Rush, and we're showcased, which is more of a Euro style game. And then today at the con we're showing off Lunar Skyline. With trick-taking games. They have a nice, diverse group of games already. And plugging Talking Cardboard content. A few years ago, we had the opportunity on Tabletop Simulator to play with both Brendan and his colleague Bernie, Omicron Protocol. So that was a fun experience. Next, we have Brendan Ferry, who is from Faction, the co-creator of Faction Battlegrounds, and Peter is his childhood best friend are the co-creators of Faction Battlegrounds 2-4 player fantasy combat card game. Pete's role was developing and implementing the game mechanics and rules, and also directing the product realization of the game. And he was doing the demos in the back earlier today and had a lot of people interested in the game, so that was exciting to see. And we are excited to have him here on the panel. And then unfortunately we had one more panelist, Jeremy, who recently had to bow out of tonight with due to a unfortunate little health issue, but nothing serious, but unfortunately he's not able to make it tonight. Otherwise he was originally planning to join us. So let's just break right into the questions. First of all, tell us a little more about your company than what I already did, including when did your company start, and what kind of games do you would you say you publish or sell? And I'll start with Peter here to my left.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much everybody who tried out Factions Battlegrounds. That's the first time I've had it open for 8 people solo, and so my voice is like completely dead. And I probably won't do that ever again. I'll make sure that I have the knowledge here. But thank you so much for everybody who took the time to play it. So my name is Pete Ferry. I am the co-creator of Factions Battlegrounds. That is our one and only title, so we stuck an LLC at the end of it, so we're Factions Battlegrounds LLC. Our company, without us really knowing, I guess started in 1993, and then it really started in 2020. So when I was in 3rd grade, my best friend Jason, he lives in Milwaukee, that's where we grew up, He bought a pack of Ice Age Magic: The Gathering cards, and we didn't know anything about it. So we were like, you know what? They give you a palm-sized like rule book with it or whatever. It was a bunch of random cards. We're like, let's just draw our own cards on notebook paper and make our own rules to a different game. And so we did that. Copyright laws were totally violated. We like essentially traced them. And then I guess I didn't know this, but he's kind of a hoarder. And 30 years down the line, he was cleaning out his house and he found all of those sketches and called me and said, hey, do you want to actually make this game for real? I found all the sketches. They're still in the original Goosebumps books folder. And I didn't know what he was talking about. Like, I was like, I don't know what you're talking about at all. And he kind of reminded me, and I was like, okay, yeah, let's try it. So 2020, we started the process of self-publishing, and we did a Kickstarter in November of 2020, which was the worst time in human history to do a Kickstarter because it was in the middle of pure chaos with COVID and supply chain. We didn't know any better. We fulfilled 2 years later, and it's been a blast. It's been a huge learning curve, and it's been a lot of fun. That's the only board game I've ever designed. We put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it. We only had one decent idea that certain people like, and that's what we're sticking with. So that's basically the number right there. So there you go.
So I'm Brendan Kendrik, again, Dead Alive Games. I formed up with my partner in crime, Bernie Lynn. I tricked him cruelly into starting this company with me. We were really into skirmish miniatures games, like I think we met playing X-Wing, which is a fantasy flight game, of course. And I just really loved the tactical skirmish stuff. Bernie went ahead and just organized the entire Bay Area. It was insane. There were all these store tournaments, and he just like introduced everyone to everyone else and created this huge circuit of tournaments. So I just kind of followed him around the Bay Area playing X-Wing. Eventually, years later, I had this crazy idea for a skirmish game that had a third party, because I had never encountered that, and I thought it was super original. Turns out there was a Walking Dead game. I didn't know about it. But anyway, so third party faction, it's really tactical. There are unique characters and lots of crazy variation in that game. Blood, Sweat, and Tears, a terrible game to start a company on because it's a game with minis, tons of cards that are irregular sizes. There's just way too much stuff. My God, if you're going to start a company, please make a card game. Just make a card game first, because there's so much to learn about the whole process. But we did learn a lot, and decided to. Well, I also had a baby around then, so the sort of design time vanished. But we decided to sign a friend's game and kind of take all that knowledge that we had gained in logistics and manufacturing and just making something physical and real. And so we published Lunar Rush, and then we co-designed Cyber Pet Quest again, so that was our third game. And then we're in the midst of publishing Lunar Skyline, which I was demoing so long today that I can't think straight, sorry. But anyway, that's a local designer here, Charlie McCarran. Awesome dude, great designer. Someone else just walked away with 4 humors, that's also by him. So yeah, it's been a great adventure. We're focusing now kind of on more on the publishing side. We got a few small games that we've signed for this year, and we have a huge expansion for Lunar Rush coming out, so yeah. Exciting.
I'm Jacob with Games by James. Games by James started 45 years ago. I was not with the company back then. So everything I've heard has been second, third hand. From what I've heard, Games by James started by the son of James Gabbard of Gabbard Furniture. Does that sound familiar to Minnesotans? Okay. And I guess this is a big deal, and Minnesotans love Gabbard Furniture. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. And so the dad was going to have his son take over the business, but he wanted to see if the son, could run a business. So Games by James started off as that pet project to see if the son was capable of doing that. And the son was. And then like they started franchising them. And there's all of these Games by James franchises in the Twin Cities, a whole bunch of different owners, a whole bunch of different people. And then the economy started to suffer, and the owner that owned the Mall of America store, Glenn McKee, started acquiring some of the other ones, and eventually his son Logan, the current owner, bought those locations from his dad. So Games by James is a family business. We have 6 Games by James locations. There is another Games by James in Rochester, Minnesota, that we are on very friendly terms with, but we're actually different owner. Like Greg is a wonderful guy, but that's how Games by James came to be, and we really try to have games for everyone. Like if you walk into our stores, we really want to make sure that we have something you want, of course, but something that you can get for the grandparents, something that you can get for like the 2-year-old, something you can get just for people that don't like games, which sounds horrible, but like we certainly have stuff for anyone that enjoys fun, and if they can't find something at our stores, that's not our fault.
Thanks everyone for those introductions. So let's move on to question 2. What are some of your first board game memories that you have, and what board games or experience inspired you to pursue a business venture related to board gaming? I'll start with Pete here first.
Yeah, so, I mean, I know this is talking cardboard, but I think kind of the first memory was actually, that really kind of got me back interested in the board game was actually a computer franchise. It's called Heroes of Might and Magic.
Oh, no.
And there's a lot of similarities to how the battle plays out in factions, and that was just like all-consuming, just kind of, you know, watching different monsters and controlling them and having them fight each other. And something about that when I was like a kid just stuck with me throughout my entire life. But I do remember my older cousin introducing me to Risk, and you know, never, I think we haven't ever finished one game ever. I think it's still there. And just like, you know, just kind of being able to kind of just use my brain strategically in that way and interact with people in a different way was fantastic. And I mentioned Magic the Gathering as well, just kind of and not having any money and trying to put together some of the worst decks possible. Those are all, I think, kind of some core memories, and I just really enjoyed the aspects of those various games. And so when Jason approached me to try to do this, realized like, you know, no matter what happens, that's something I've always enjoyed thoroughly. So it just was something that was like, let's start this off as a hobby, and it became something we both really fell in love with. And so I think that's kind of the core reason. It's just love of the hobby, really, that I didn't realize I had until I was but I knew I had when I was a kid, and then didn't realize it again until I was an adult.
Yeah, that's interesting. Thinking about childhood memories, I was cleaning out the attic of my dad's house recently and found an ancient Stratego box from, you know, and I was like, I love this game. This was so fun. The hidden information and just kind of trying to suss out what's going on and where to plan your attack is so much fun. And what got me back into the gaming was X-Wing. I knew I wanted some board games, and I was on a pool league, and I was just staying out too late at night, and I was like, I need a hobby where I'm like, you know, not offered 4 fingers of whiskey on like a school night. You know, I need something healthier to do. So I go to the board game store, and I'm looking at games, and I'm like, oh, X-Wing, this is a cool board game. And the guy at the counter was like, oh yeah, people love it when someone gets into one of these collectible games. I'm like, I don't know what that means, whatever. You know, a year later, yeah, I'm doing the circuit of tournaments every weekend. So definitely got the hooks in me. And then for whatever reason, there was a summer where we played a lot of co-op games, and so that I think that's where that seed of a third party enemy in a skirmish game kind of came up where I'm like, there's this idea, and then the idea was infectious, obviously, and yeah, poor Bernie, tricked, and the rest is history.
So I was a little bit of an awkward kid. I am still a little awkward right now. I hope that's not coming across too much, but all of my best memories growing up was playing games. It didn't matter. It didn't matter that I don't like automobiles and don't like hunting, and sports are kind of but no matter what, I could just play card games with my grandma. I could play poker with my dad's family on the holidays. I could play cribbage with my dad. I could play Scrabble with my mom. And, no matter what, it didn't matter if we had nothing in common. We could always just connect with games. So yeah, I've just always grown up loving board games.
All right, thanks guys for those answers. All right, next question here. What is the biggest surprise to you in terms of how the board gaming hobby or industry has changed over the last 1 to 2 decades? I don't want to give away your ages here, so I'm trying to keep it vague, but if you've seen any major changes in your lifetime, what would you say those are? I'll start with Peter again.
Yeah, I think, the crowdfunding aspect of it that was a huge eye opener. I mean, I don't want to say it's so just sounds so nonchalant, but it's kind of anybody can really do it, and anybody has a chance to get into the game with crowdfunding, and it's really amazing. And the other thing I think that I noticed, and this might not really answer the question as to how far it's changed, because it's probably been like this, forever, is that other designers, they're all board gamer enthusiasts too, and they want to see other products and board games succeed. The more games out there, the better for everyone. And I don't know if I've ever been a part of an industry like that, where there's not really, the competition is when you're playing the game. It's, we want everyone's game to succeed because we want more out there. So just the overwhelming amount of help from other designers who can empathize with you at a similar stage, or who have done it before, who can offer you advice. I mean, people shared their manufacturer lists, they did all kinds of things that you would never really see in other industries. So maybe that's not a surprise, but it was a surprise to me, kind of re-entering it back about 7 or 8 years ago. So.
Yeah, I have to just second everything that you just said, honestly. How giving people are in this industry is really ridiculous. It's just awesome. And people not only will they help you, but they'll go out of their way to find you and help you, which is crazy. Yeah, that surprised me. It's unlike anything in this world. It's really great. Or maybe not. Maybe there's other things like that, but it's kind of beautiful. I love it.
And Jacob and Games by James are a huge example of that for me personally. Just see hey, this is an interesting game. Let's talk about it. It's actually, wow, that's really kind of you to take an hour out of your day to just meet a random guy to talk about his weird game. So yeah,
pretty awesome. What else is surprising? Yeah, you hit the nail on that. For I guess a self-published perspective.
So 20 years ago, probably the most popular game was Trivial Pursuit 20th Anniversary Edition, and that was the timeline where every year it was some party game that was by far the most popular game that everyone had to have. Our top-selling games this past year were Root and Wormspan, and I am just shocked that 8-year-olds are playing Villainous. This is not a simple game. And 20 years ago, I could not explain Carcassonne to most people. So it's really amazing how capable people are of learning new games, and just how incredibly popular hobby games have become over the last 20 years. A game about birds just exploding like it did. A game just the themes and games that are coming out. It's just so amazing how many unique themes and unique themes. Yeah, I'm just really surprised at how complex games are getting, but what a broader stroke they're casting, and yeah.
All right, this is a question that's going to be just for the publishers here. What is one of the more challenging aspects of designing or publishing a board game? And I specifically worded it as one of the more. I didn't say what is the most, because I'm sure there's many. So pick one of the more challenging aspects, and I'll start this time with Brendan. Not Bernie. Bernie's in California. Brendan's here. Brendan.
People mix us up all the time. Yeah. So, yeah, gosh, designing or publishing? I guess maybe I should do publishing since, yeah, I guess you've said that. Yeah, one of the more challenging, okay, designing or publishing. I can think of so many that one is really hard. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, how much time do you get? Okay. I'll go with design. Okay, one of the most difficult things about game design, one of the most challenging aspects, is just discovering your blind spots and accepting feedback. So just taking it in and like not seeing it through a filter. Just like understand the words that people are saying, then sometimes ignore them, but understand the feeling that they're feeling, you know, like, okay, that's weird, or they said it rudely or whatever, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that they are expressing a moment that they weren't happy with in the game. Like, they were frustrated, so no matter how they say it or what they said, there is something there to look at. And you just have to, you know, have a thick skin and just understand that, you know, for the most part, people aren't trying to hurt your feelings. It's just like, and they might be right, and there might be something that you just love, or that's like, this is so core, this game I've been working on for so long, and this is this core part of it, and it just might have to go. Like, you might have to just kill it. That's hard.
That's really hard. That's, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's, took the words out of my mouth, basically. I mean, I think that is a extremely, when you think that there's something that's so cool and so unique and so special mechanically about your game, and realizing that it doesn't, that the game is better without it, I think, for more people or for your target audience, that's a really hard realization to come to, and that's probably the most challenging thing about designing a game. I think self-publishing, at least, especially for the first time, what I guess I didn't realize it's really challenging is when you decide to self-publish a game, you're not just deciding to be a board game designer, you're also deciding to be a marketing professional. You're also deciding to be a finance for your business professional. You're deciding to be a logistics expert. You're deciding to be a lot of other things that really you don't realize right off the bat. So there's a whole lot that goes into to getting a game from an idea, prototype, to actually in people's hands, and that's why having the board game community be so kind of reverse from other communities where they're so helpful, we wouldn't have made it at all without other people in the community. So yeah.
Thanks, guys. And now to flip this around a little bit for our resident retailer here. What is one of the more challenging aspects of selling board games?
So with selling game, I guess the biggest difficulty with just ordering games is trying to figure out which games are going to sell. When people come into our stores, I'm hoping that either A, they know what they want and we have it, or B, that they know what type of game they want and they can work with our staff, and our staff will ask follow-up questions. Hopefully, if someone's looking for a certain game, our staff we probably have something that we can, that they will be very happy with. The toughest thing for me, with ordering games, is if we over-order, we have a lot of dead inventory, and that's not good for us whatsoever. If we under-order, then everyone's upset with us because we're sold out of their game. So projections are important, but really, it's really the hardest part is just making sure that our customer service team finds the right game for the people asking for the game, and that's more on them than me. So they do a
So I wasn't lying. You probably were wondering, is he actually going to do a raffle in the middle of this thing? And I am. So, again, as mentioned, we are doing a $50 gift card to Games by James raffle right now, courtesy of Games by James. So, let's see who the lucky winner is for this. All right. Let's see. Try again. This is why you stay around. All right, 953339. 95. We have the winner. And just for my own personal memory, if everyone can give me a nice round of applause here, so I'll just take a quick video of everyone just to show that we had a nice. I thought maybe one person would come till tonight, so it's happy to see so many. All right, so we do have one more drawing later in a few minutes, but first, more questions. Next, we have a question for everyone. What are some of the board gaming trends you see? Do you feel the publishers or retailers are influencing or pushing these trends on the customers or in consumers, or do you think it's the other way around? And I'll this time start with Jacob at the end.
That's a good question. I didn't see this on that list. I must say. Okay, so like definitely some trends we're seeing are like smaller boxes. I think this is just like really wonderful for our stores are tiny. If we have smaller boxes, we can fit a lot more games. I know a lot of publishers are moving to smaller boxes because it's cheaper to ship from China. And I mean, we all have our bookshelves that have too many games, so like, I think we can all agree smaller boxes are great. We don't need a big box that's empty. So that's definitely been a trend. In the last few years, solo games have been really popular, and I definitely believe this has been completely driven by customers because every Kickstarter, people are always asking for the solo rules, and like even if it makes no sense whatsoever, people are demanding solo rules for every game. And like with that being said, the Final Girl is doing great. We're a lot of our games that have solo rules are people are coming into our stores asking for games with solo rules, and they there are a lot of solo gamers out there. There's a lot more solo gamers than I believe any publisher fully anticipated, and that's fantastic. So those are a couple trends that I've noticed.
Sure. Let's see. Here's our second game. Our first one was bigger. Here's our third game. Here's our fourth game. So yeah, spot on, right? Stuff's getting smaller. Absolutely. And we got hit our first game, which is, you know, a 7-pound giant box. We had to freight from China right during the, you know, the worst time possible during the pandemic. So yeah, that's a contributing factor for sure. Absolutely. Solo, you have to have solo. If you're going to run on Kickstarter, for the most part, you have to have a solo mode. People are going to ask for it. So if you don't provide one, you're telling those people, you know, that they don't matter. Kickstarter's a bunch of voodoo, so I don't know if it matters or not, but we've done it, so, you know, we've listened to those people. Also solo, like, I enjoy solo games. At first I did not. I would even rather play a solo game cooperatively, just so I can share the experience with someone. Recently I played Legacy of You. It's amazing. It's a solo game, and I'm like, it's the first time that I played a solo game where I was like, I want to play this again, like pretty much right away. I just want to keep playing this, and it's awesome. So I'm a believer now in solo games. I think they're, you know, they can be fantastic. So. Other trends, mushrooms.
like as a theme, we're not like.
Yeah, I think we get asked once a month if we have a solo version in the works of our game. So, and we have a huge game. If I were to do it over, we would have cut our game in half size-wise, and that's the advice we get all the time: is
you can reprint this game, do it again, but make it a lot smaller, less factions, that sort of thing. We were kind of big into stretch goals, so we had 1 million stretch goals, and we hit a bunch of them, and so we were like, it's more efficient to put them all in one box, which was great. It was wonderful. It helped us kind of fulfill our vision, but everything these two said is 100% what questions we're getting to. So.
Just want to add on a couple comments from those answers. First, Corey just had a box of Final Girl open earlier today that he just got, so I know he's excited about trying that out. And Corey and myself are also going to try to do more solo playthroughs, live playthroughs, because as Brendan was saying, it is almost more fun to play a solo game cooperatively, which is also kind of like doing a live playthrough session of a solo game. So now that you are all subscribers, I'm sure, of Talking Cardboard, you'll get that notification of when we go live, and I know you'll immediately then want to watch us play any of the solo games that we're playing on Talking Cardboard. So with that said, next question here. This is for the publishers. When designing or publishing a game, how do you balance making a game that appeals to more recreational gamers as well as hobby gamers, or do you just on the onset know this is a game that's going to only be for one or the other type of audience? And this time I'll start with Pete again.
Yeah, I think, just with our one game, it's kind of interesting. So Jason he's a person of color. He refers to himself as a black nerd or a blurred. And he's been going to a lot of blurred conventions, or he had gone to a lot prior to making the game. And he teaches art in an inner city school. And he when he approached me, he said, blurreds, we have a lot of options. We're really into anime. We like a lot of pop culture, sci-fi stuff. But I love board games, and I think that people like me would also love board games, but there's not really a game that has sort of the levels of representation that I think would, bring more people into the hobby. And so, as the art director, he wanted to focus on that target audience, really, with the art and with the graphic design and illustrations behind each of the factions. I was kind of tasked with making it, not necessarily a lightweight game, but a game that had complex strategy that would be, kind of just a strategy game. So he kind of identified for us our target market, and that would be strategy gamers, hobby gamers, that also might welcome in another group of people that would really also enjoy the hobby, that just might be able to see themselves in our game a little bit differently. So I don't really have a lot of experience or any designing kind of a more recreational game. I think that takes obviously a tremendous amount of talent, and it's just not my specialty. I'm a little bit more focused. So.
Yeah, our first game, Omicron Protocol, skirmish game. Not everyone loves a skirmish game. So that was, but we made it a board game. So that was kind of part of our mission too, was to make things that we really loved about miniatures gaming and tactical gaming more accessible to more people. We also had a big focus on representation as well. And our characters are kind of, maybe to our detriment, a little plain. We kind of went with some plain sculpts and some, so these are like everyday people. And the idea was there, kind of similar to what you were talking about, where people should be able to see themselves, be that, skin color or body type or what have you. They should feel like there is someone there for them to connect with and play if that's what they want. So yeah, there's that. As far as from a gameplay perspective, making games accessible, is another thing. It's something that we're still trying to figure out. We made Cyber Pet Quest is a co-op campaign game. We put 8+ on the box. We probably shouldn't have, because it's a little crunchier than it looks. Right? It's pink. It looks like a kid's game, and it is appropriate for children. But it is probably, you wouldn't put 4 8-year-olds and give them that box and say have fun, because they're probably not going to end up playing the game.
You made me sad with that comment, Brendan, because I was about to get a copy for my 20-month-old daughter, so now...
You get to play. So you're the rules lawyer, and the kids...
So I can tell my wife,
yeah.
She can play this, All right, next question here. This is for our retailer. When selling games, similar question, when selling games, how do you balance your selection of games for both hobby and recreational gamers? And you kind of talked about this a little bit already, but I'll let you add some color to that.
So I guess this is a good opportunity to bring up the expansion cards you got are incredibly inappropriate to play with kids. I do want to mention that right now. The amazing thing about Cards Against Humanity is none of our staff recommends cards or crabs, and it just flies off the shelf. So a lot of times what we're doing is we're just seeing, like, the customers are telling us what they want to buy. We have like 12 different Unos. I don't know why. I can tell you that we have the sales to back up having 12 different Unos. And so really I am just following the sales. Our entire staff is super grateful that our customers are buying more hobby games. Most of our staff are super excited about the hobby games. We also have ones that love like the collectible card games and the miniatures, but like it really is a matter of what our customers want that we are trying to fulfill. And when we see a lot of Uno sell, I bring in more Unos. When we see a lot of like dirty adult games sell, I bring in more dirty adult games. And if we see these trends start to decrease, then I decrease the selection we have and add them in other areas.
And this is a good time to quick mention too, we have a few more of those goodie bags over there on the table by Corey, so if you weren't someone that sat down and shared with one, we have a few left, courtesy again of Games by James. So next question here is for Pete. There are many different card combat games out there. When designing Faction Battlegrounds, what aspects of these games did you know you wanted to keep, and what did you want to do different?
Yeah, there are a lot, and it seems like there's another one every week that I get advertised for through like Facebook or something, some other just combat card game. I think with Factions Battlegrounds, a couple of things. One thing, everybody who demoed didn't get a chance to do this because I did it for the setup, but the battleground actually is going to be dynamic. It's going to change every time you play. So there's a setup mechanic where you place these different terrain tiles, is what we call them, but they're where your units move on the board. So therefore, it's always going to be a different sort of layout for the battleground, which is something that I think is relatively unique. I kind of alluded a little bit to the just inclusivity factor. In addition to that, several of our factions are kind of based off of mythology from Africa or from different parts of Southeast Asia. There's a Mesoamerican themed faction as well. So there's some mythology that has just some different monster types and a different feel than some of your, I guess, traditional sort of fantasy aspects. And there are those traditional elements in there as well that we wanted to keep to combine it. We didn't want to do a deck. Well, again, I mentioned we were just absolutely awful at anything building decks, and we blamed like, oh, it's because you have to draw cards. I mean, it turns out we were just terrible at building decks for any sort of game. So we just wanted to take that aspect out entirely. I think things that we wanted to keep, I mean, we really enjoyed asymmetrical powers. I mean, different sort of strategies for each faction having kind of like each colored magic or each Warhammer faction or whatever, they each have their own sort of asymmetrical powers and abilities balanced as well as we could. And so just kind of that overall element of strategy, tactical games, we liked, and then just taking out some of the, I guess you could say, card drawing and some of the kind of static, board, or it's always the same, is what we changed. Oh, that's just me.
All right, yeah, why don't you tell me about my game?
This one is for Brendan. So Luna Rush has a designer that is not you or Bernie, or Bernie or Brendan. What led to the decision to take on a game with a different designer, and what were you looking for that convinced you his game was worth publishing?
Well, I mentioned that I have a kid now, so that was a big disruption in my time that I could spend designing. What led us to wanting to publish someone else's game was, just the painful learning process of self-publishing. It's like, well, if we don't make another game, then what are we even doing? Like, we just learned how to make a game, like physically. we should do this again. We should try and see if we can improve upon that process and take someone else's idea and make it real. We weren't, I don't know, the game came first, right? So we're involved in different playtest groups and in the Bay Area. The designer of Lunar Rush is actually Hungry Gamer's brother. So Hungry Gamer is a friend of ours, and you may have seen his YouTube channel. He's moderately well known. So anyway, his brother started to come to the different Bay Area proto-spiel events or design events, and we got a chance to meet him, and Bernie started playing his game, just saying, oh yeah, well, I'll play test your game, and then it was like, yeah, that's pretty cool, let's do it on TTS. He lives in Colorado, so they started playing on TTS. He played it about 10 or 15 times in a month, just helping him play test, and he's like, I'm not tired of this. So then they looped me in, and we started playing it together, and then Bernie sold me on the publishing part. So yeah, what do we look for now is different because we are targeting things, right? We have more of an opinion about what we want and what's going to work for us. So lately, it's going to be small games, right? So we're looking for smaller stuff. Part of that is because of the time that it takes. With Cyber Pet Quest, it's a campaign game. There's a ton of asymmetric stuff. Everything has to be different. Every chapter has to really play different, feel different, have a different theme, and it's just a lot of work to put all of that together and test it all and make sure it's all working, and then try the different paths and make sure those are working. It's just the hours involved was a lot. Same with our first game, Omicron Protocol, where it's all scenario based, so it's just over and over. You're just trying to test combinations and make sure they're not broken and make the thread feel right through a lot of different paths. So we are more focused now on your more traditional games that are, you play it and then you're done playing it, you know. So you play for an hour or two and then that was a good game. So it's easier to work that core loop, I think. So that's what we're looking at. And small stuff, definitely small.
TTS being Tabletop Simulator, if anyone knows what that acronym is. That allows for, anyway. All right, so let's see here. Oops. Oh, did I? Was there a raffle? Oh, did I? Oh my gosh, another raffle drawing. Okay, no one laughed at that. Come on, God, I'm done, I'm leaving. All right, here we go. Raffle drawing for the last gift card courtesy of Games by James. All right, who's gonna get it? 337. Let's see if he. Okay. 953332. 332.
Sure that's a 2?
953332. All right. No 332. We'll go on to the next one. Okay. 953384. 953. Well, we have a winner.
Someone's sitting over here.
Perfect. Thank you.
And we do have just couple more questions, and then we'll open it up to audience questions. So with that said, we'll get on to Jeremy, of course. Unfortunately, was not able to make it tonight, so we'll go to another question for everyone. Let's talk crowdfunding. We talked a little bit about it already, but how do you feel this has helped or hurt publishers? And how do you feel this has helped or hurt retailers? So I'll start over here with Pete.
Yeah, well, I mean, it gives everybody a chance. So I think it is helpful. I also think now too, at least when we did, 5 years ago, that was kind of almost the norm. I mean, almost people expected games to come from crowdfunding, which was really nice. So it's kind of like, when I want to buy the best new games or when I want to try out new games, I look to a Kickstarter or a GameFound or something like that. So I think that it just became a staple for publishers really is go through crowdfunding, and it gives you a chance to really express and talk about your project. It gives you a chance to give updates. gives you a chance to, I think, just really kind of put yourself out there and your product out there and feel that people believe in you. How does it hurt? Well, like, I mean, you got to actually make the damn thing after they give you all the money. So it's kind of like, and that kind of, like I said, you know, going through it during COVID, I'm a little jaded. It was very hard, and so there's an added challenge there, and you know, I had a kid in the middle of it as well, and so it just kind of was, it just was a lot more challenging. So I think that people think of crowdfunding from the front end and from the, you know, it's going to be great, I'm going to get all this money, and then I'll just pay somebody, and they'll make my game, and I'll send it to everybody. And I wish there was a little bit, I guess, of more education behind the second half of crowdfunding as far as what happens when you have the money, really, I guess. The other thing, too, I'll just point out is we were fortunate in this, but I think people jump into crowdfunding before most of their product has been completely thought of and hashed out and designed. Like, we had a prototype done, most of our art done, and you want to be 80 to 90% done with your product, you know, with having it down before you go to crowdfunding. I think a lot of people go too early. They don't have enough to show. They don't really know what's going to happen. They change things. And so that, I think, messes up too. So I think just crowdfunding gives everybody a chance, but also I think there needs to be a lot of, you need to know what you're getting into on both ends, I think would be the way I'd put it.
Yep, I agree with all that. We canceled our first Kickstarter because it did not fund, and that was really painful.
For Omicron?
Yeah, for Omicron Protocol, that was painful. We weren't ready. We went too early. We didn't know that we weren't ready, but then we figured it out pretty quick. So it was a good experience in that it illuminated a lot of things that were not done. And one of those things was solo mode, actually. So, but just really, we weren't there yet, and we would have been in big trouble if we had funded. We probably wouldn't be here today for that first campaign. Without Kickstarter, we wouldn't be here today. There's no path, until crowdfunding for someone who's just like, oh, I got this idea. Like, you wouldn't do it, right? You'd come up with a game maybe. If you were serious about it, you'd try to find a partner to work on it, in the form of a publisher, which is still pretty common. But as far as just making your own thing and having creative control and bringing it to reality, that's the path, right? Unless you're just independently wealthy or something. So I'm not. Let's see here. How has it hurt publishers? I will say that I've got opinions about that. I think that some publishers that maybe don't need crowdfunding use it, and there are a lot of tricks and stuff. There are things like, I know people don't. They speak about this is. I'm trying to come up with the right words. Right? People don't like it when you falsely set a funding goal, but you can't not do that, right? It's crazy. So it's like, oh well, it's actually going to cost like $40,000 to make this game, but if I say that, it's not going to fund. So in order to get to $40,000, you have to set and people think it's dishonest, but it's not. It's just the reality. There are a lot of things like that are just kind of like, well, yeah, it looks schmarmy to you, but this is the path. This is how it's going to work. And it's not. Nobody's trying to trick anybody. So there's a lot of misconception, I think, that people have about just how it works or what the angle is. I guarantee there's nobody out there. So if you're looking at a Kickstarter and you're like, nah, they're really trying to get over. They're totally not. And all of that money is spoken for, and they're going to make none of it. So, like if that's the quantity that we're talking about, like $40,000, it's gone. They're not making money. They're trying so hard to make something that you're going to like. They're not trying to rob you, and they're not trying to trick you. And I think that's one of those areas where I'm like, or like stretch goals. I don't like stretch goals. Like, well, okay, but you just gotta have it. So that's I don't like them either. Secretly, I hate them. So there you go. But you gotta have it. You gotta play the game. People expect it. So.
So I am a big fan of crowdfunding. There's a lot of products, a lot of my favorite games would not exist without crowdfunding. And a lot of my favorite games, the expansions for them would not exist without crowdfunding because there is not enough demand for those expansions. So sometimes you'll see the Kickstarter exclusive expansion that they're only going to make 10,000 copies of, which is not that many, and if it is not moving fast, I don't want them rotting on my store shelves. So with crowdfunding, you can find the specific customers that want them. Anyone that is self-publishing a game for the first time, crowdfunding is going to help you the most know how big your market is and know how big of a print run you should do. And if you are not getting people interested in your crowdfunding campaign, you can cancel it and reorganize and figure out why the message is not getting out there. If you publish a game without crowdfunding, print 10,000 copies, and discover people don't want it, that you might have to live a different type of lifestyle after that. So I think crowdfunding is really amazing. It's definitely a risk for the consumer. There's definitely publishers that don't do stuff in good faith. There's publishers that are no longer with us. But I definitely see more benefits from crowdfunding than negatives. As far as retail goes, we're not really going to compete with Amazon or Target or Barnes & Noble, but Amazon and Target and Barnes & Noble have these wonderful exclusives. They'll do the Villainous with the fancy cover. I'm not going to get the fancy cover. I want the fancy cover. But if I do a retailer pledge for a Kickstarter, I can get some of these Kickstarter GameFound exclusives in my store that Target, Walmart, Amazon, those stores are not going to have. So if you are going to do a crowdfunding campaign, find a way to get retailers to back it, and what is that incentive for because retailers want exclusive stuff too, because we want you in our stores. So I definitely see a lot more benefits with crowdfunding. I know there's a lot of negative too, but I definitely see a lot more, and it's just getting the print run right, I think, is so crucial. I guess I'm guessing the publishers would agree with that, but I definitely have talked to a lot of people that have self-published their own games that have a garage they can no longer use, or have a spouse that reminds them of how big their print run was. So getting the right size print run is so important.
All right, this is a question for the publishers. Rulebook time. When do you determine the rulebook is good enough for your final game? And this is one of my biggest pet peeves with the hobby, is reading a rulebook that definitely, in my opinion, isn't quite ready, but clearly the publisher decided it was, so I want to know when that decision gets made. So I'll start with Brendan this time.
Usually it's, I don't know, I would say a week of staying up until 3 or 4 in the morning to finalize the rules is usually about after that week, when you've almost ruined your day job and your marriage maybe. That's when it's done, typically. Yeah, it's really grueling. It's really hard. Writing is hard, and writing clear, concise messages is hard, and consistency is very hard. I don't know what to say except that you just have to go over it and then try to see it with fresh eyes. And then the ultimate test is, of course, getting that rule book in front of someone who's never played your game, and then having them read it and play the game correctly. That's the ultimate test. So if you can do that, that's the real deal.
I was gonna say blind play testing, I guess, is like the biggest, and once that, I mean, I think also we had 2, I guess, board game rulebook editors look at ours, and then we also had a third editor who had nothing to do with board games, who was just excellent with punctuation and edits regular stuff, not board game rulebooks, and they all came back with some incredibly important feedback. So we also hired a really good graphic designer. That's where we spent a lot of money. So that's another area going into it. I didn't realize, if you want your game to be, playable, I mean, putting aside some funds if you can't really do it yourself, for people to really make sure that rule book is maximized. And even still, we get questions on it, and I think that I think it's kind of almost never done, really. I mean, it's done, but as long as most people can read the rule book, understand the game, play it to, I would say like 97, 98, 99% of what you really intended it to, and have a good time with it and understand it easily, and not going back and looking 18 times and trying to figure out what every single thing is. I would say as soon as a group can pull off a blind play test, have fun, then you're multiple groups, then your rule book is done. Also, when you try to do that, blind play testing to me was the most terrifying aspect of it. We had to tear down our rule book completely, at least 3 times, and we had to change the whole graphic design layout of our cards a couple times too. So but the game is far better for it. It's devastating, but it's the most important thing, I think, with rule books.
All right, this is for the retailer. When curating your store's selection of games, what are the top 3 aspects you are prioritizing? And has that prioritization changed over the years, or do you think it will change in the future?
So I guess like when it comes to like bringing in games, games sell at our stores one of 3 different ways. They sell because someone already knows what they're going to buy. They come in, they buy the game. That's pretty easy. We love those people. Then it's people coming in and looking for wanting suggestions. So like we sell games because our staff has recommended the games, and usually these are games our staff are super excited about. And then the customers get them, and we love them for getting those, and we're very happy about that. And then the third are the customers that are probably a little bit more like me, that like, I don't want to talk to anyone, leave me alone. So I'm just going to walk around the store by myself, and I'm going to see like what pops off the shelf to me. So like, for anyone that is self-publishing, packaging, hire a great graphic designer, because a lot of our games will sell just based on shelf presence. Games like the Fro burrito, you see a couple foam burritos, like you're going to be interested. I see you back there. You know what I'm talking about. Like, yeah, just amazing image. Like it definitely says a statement. We have games like Jackass that has a word that makes kids smirk, and like that just flies off the shelf. It is just really amazing. So when choosing games to bring in, ideally I'm getting a game that has like Board Game Geek buzz, or has something that our staff can be excited about, or just has amazing packaging. Ideally, if I can get the trifecta, that is really, really amazing. But those are, I'm always considering who's going to buy this game, like how is our staff going to get excited about it. After that, we also want to make sure we have games for what people are asking for. I did make it seem like that I don't love Uno earlier, but we carry Braille Uno, and I absolutely love that we have a Braille option. We don't ever have to sell a copy of this, and I'm going to carry it forever just because this gives us a Braille option finally. So like we sell Rook, which doesn't sell very well, but we have people specifically coming in and asking for Rook. So it doesn't matter that one doesn't sell well. We have they have a very diehard fan base that I believe are just replacing their copy of Rook, but like if they just keep coming back in for that one. So like the other factor too is if we do have ones that might be underperforming sales-wise, well, are these ones that are bringing people into the store? And if people are coming specifically in for Rook, then we have to have Rook. So those are a couple factors in what I bring in.
A lot of people have strong feelings on this topic. So how do you all feel about AI, and will it help or hurt the industry? And I'll start with Pete here.
Spicy topic. So, you know, I think like with our particular game, I'll focus kind of on the art aspect. The art is incredibly important. Again, we have different cultures represented, and so our goal was to have individuals from those cultures do the art on most of the cards. Also, Jason's an art teacher, and some of his former students worked on the cards. We've just made it an internal company stand. We're never going to use AI art. As far as, you know, everything else, I think that it's ultimately going to help with, especially, you know, prototype, play testing. I think any way it can help some of the adjacent industries, like the shipping industry, like logistics, all of that, you know, is turning more and more to AI. That can only really help the industry. As far as game creation itself, I think we're not going to use AI art. If AI is helping people write rule books and do different things like that, I know as a designer personally, I think that any way that it can help, outside of, I think, stealing from some of the, maybe stealing is too harsh a word, I know a lot of people use it that way anyway, but outside of taking from the creator, I think, or taking away the creativity, any way it can help with anything else, I suppose I'm for, and I think it'll ultimately help the industry, as long as it's not, you know, suffocating the creative lens of board games.
Yeah, I sort of have an adjacent opinion, I guess, on this one. And adjacent, I mean my day job, which is I teach software development, and AI is inevitably part of that now. There are tools that people use to generate code or to finish their sentences, right? And this is something that's been evolving for many, many years, right? Editors are there that will kind of help you finish your sentence, but the things that exist now are very aggressive about it, and you know, I don't know if they're opinionated is the right word, but they will write a lot more code for you. They'll finish a bigger sentence or even an entire file of code for you now. I don't know. I feel that you check out mentally when that happens. I've noticed it myself, just kind of demoing those tools, that I'm less of a critical thinker when that is happening. That can't be good for writing rule books, for instance, or even for generating ideas. Like I think that full engagement, intentional engagement, brings quality to everything. I don't want to read words if you didn't bother to write them. Like if you couldn't take that time to do that, or to draw that picture, or have it, you know, I don't know. I'm a human centric, I guess. I'm a humanist.
That's good. Yeah,
you know, that said, like AI tools can be really useful. So on the flip side, right, I've got a whole big script of something, and I'm like, just translate this to another thing that will work. That's really valuable, right? So I can say, okay, well, this isn't going to work for this SQL system, but maybe I can have it just translate this whole MySQL thing to a Postgres SQL thing, and it's going to pretty much work. Fine. I already wrote that code. So this is it's different. So I don't know, there's a fine line. I don't want to come off as like AI negative, because that would be foolish, you know. I feel like if I move on and want to get a job, that's going to be that's something I'm going to have to embrace and put, you know, use in my workflow, I guess. So I think it can be useful. I think mostly it's garbage.
So I am not technologically advanced when it comes to, like, if the computer just does weird stuff, I just delegate that to someone else to figure out what's going on, and I wave my arms in the air and hopefully don't punch the computer. But so a lot of AI, I don't understand a lot of the AI. I understand that now you can use it to like write emails and all of this stuff, which is fine, whatever. What I'm encountering a lot is the AI art. I'm really surprised at how often this is coming up. The number one rule of retail is do not upset your customers. So like, if one of our staff members were to recommend a game that had AI art, like if that was recommended to a customer, and they brought it home and they were looking at it and there's like 20 fingers on this wizard, and they're like, why did Games by James recommend this? Like, what the hell? And like, they're going to bring it back, and like, then it's, and so right now, we're trying not to carry AI art in our games. It's not an official policy. Like, the fact is, even like, there's going to be large publishers that are using AI art that are not telling us about that, and that is annoying. And I think, well, I don't want to call it certain publishers, but certain publishers have already done it. And to be fair, the publishers might be hiring artists that are saying, oh yeah, I'm going to do this myself, and then those artists are in turn submitting AI art. So it's making stuff complicated. And then we also have like staff that are like looking at stuff and saying, this looks like AI art, and it's like, well, list an artist on, like, so like it's also lending itself to a lot of like just, I don't want another Salem witch trial type situation in our stores here. But yeah, it is really, it's making people like distrust art, which I'm an art major. I love art. I don't want people to distrust art. I want people to just enjoy art. So the AI art is definitely very, very frustrating for me. At the end of the day, like, people are coming to our stores. They're not choosing to go to Amazon, Target. Like, they're coming to us because they want our staff recommended games, and there is this emotional connection. We push a lot of local games. We love our local partners. Buying that has an emotionally positive feeling to it. So like to have like this wonderful like purchase where someone buys this local game from a local artist or from a local designer and discover that it's actually AI art, I feel like that just is robbing our customer of an experience that they felt like they had. Like, I feel like it's dishonest. So I'm definitely against AI art in our stores, and I understand that eventually we will have games with it, but I would prefer not to.
I do just real quick on that. It's kind of funny. On some of the board game design groups, people actually they try to just show, they prompt AI to say like, create a 2 to 6 player game and with these themes, and AI comes up with just the most ridiculous, absurd, bad rules. So I think it's got a long way to go to catch up to designers as of right now, as far as AI designing the mechanics to a game.
Yeah, thanks for those perspectives, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, a fun exercise anyone can try is, well, I was trying this myself the other day, is I had this medium to heavyweight game called Thief. It's like a medieval dudes on a map war game. And I was like, oh, I wonder if ChatGPT could play a game of this on its own, simulate 4 factions. And it said, sure, I can do it. And then all of a sudden it starts like, okay, I'm going to do this for turn 1, but it made no sense. Like, it didn't actually, it like lied to me. It was like pretending to know. And it does it with such confidence. Like, I know what I'm doing. No, you don't. And then I'm like, you're wrong. And then it's like, oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm like, what? No, it's not. Anyway, it's very interesting how I'm curious to see how this develops in our lifetime. So with that said, questions for the panelists. First of all, let's just pause here to give a big round of applause for the panelists. For giving us the donating appreciate that. With that said, here's the QR code as promised from earlier. If you did have any questions to submit. Okay, cool. We actually have a few questions, so put them up. Yeah, thanks, guys.
That's good.
First one is, how is Talking Cardboard so awesome? Well, I don't know. You guys have to subscribe and find out on your own. I'm sure no one planted that question, because that would be like ridiculous.
It was posted 6 hours ago.
It was I plead the fifth. All right. How do you find originality in gameplay without the gameplay feeling forced? This definitely seems kind of like a publisher question. So, Brendan, I'll let you do that one. How do you find originality in gameplay without the gameplay feeling forced?
I'm I'm gonna assume that this is like in relation to a theme, right? So, how do you do it? You have to think about your theme first, I think. So mechanics are really important, of course, but they have to be a believable and intuitive abstraction for what you're thematically trying to accomplish. And that's it. It's not going to feel forced if that's the approach and you succeed. If it feels forced, then it's not right. You know, you have to rethink how you're solving that problem. Yeah. If it feels forced, yeah, you'll know. You already know.
Yeah, I think kind of to that point, I think having a mechanic and then trying to wrap a theme around the mechanic will make it just seem a little unoriginal, I guess. I think that when you watch players, especially in your target audience, the people who you're really kind of creating the game for, you kind of see them genuinely enjoying the game and being kind of surprised, might be a little strong word, but just kind of like unexpected of what might happen next, or really just kind of feeling like they're really immersed in the game, then I think that's when you've kind of hit your sweet spot of that. If they're not, if they're kind of asking, what do I do next? Why do I do this? Okay, I'll do this. This is if they're kind of just seeming a little like they don't want to play again. That's a good play test rule. If somebody plays the game and then asks to play again, then they're having fun, and then they're really feeling it. So.
Sorry, I gotta keep talking. So, yeah, to that point, I think I made the point earlier of like people give negative feedback and sometimes they don't know how to say what they're really saying, which is that they're just like not having fun in that moment. They might have a suggestion that makes no sense, but those are the moments you gotta look out for and think like, is this abstraction working? And I will also say that sometimes you have a game and you're like, it's not working quite right, or a publisher is like gonna retheme your game. That's you change the game. Like the mechanics are going to change if you retheme the game. That's something you should be open to. So if someone pushes back, or you're a designer and you're like, oh, they want it to be gnome theme now or something like that, then you just have to kind of say, okay, well, then I'm going to have to change the rules. Like you just have to accept that. So don't force.
Thanks, guys. This is a good question for Jacob. Do game stores usually only stock games produced by formal publishers, or are some stores open to selling games made by individuals who don't have a publisher?
I might need a clarifying follow-up. Like, so is this an item that is in a retail package, or is this is the person that asked the question in the room? We do the biggest thing is I need to be able to merchandise items in the store. We worked with a woman that was she was making crocheted dice bags. We brought those in to one of our stores to test out, and we had to come up with a solution. Well, how are we going to sell these? Because of course, they're crocheted dice bags. They're not going to be in boxes. They're not going to be in beds. So we ended up putting them in a display case. Anything that we're bringing in, we just have to figure out how can we do it. I would say we have worked with a lot of very small publishers. We definitely have worked with a lot of very small publishers. I think some of the stuff that we're not interested in, I know some people have brought to me 3D printed items that they've put to, and the problem with that is if we like it and we need to reorder it, is it going to take 6 months for us to get enough quantity back in? If we are working with a small designer, small creator, if we need to reorder it, are they going to be able to help us with that supply? And are they going to have enough for us to have this product in all 7 stores, 6 games by James plus our air traffic, or are we going to have a supply? Because if it's a one-time, if we're just going to sell $100 worth of product, that's probably not worth me putting that into our system, distributing it to store. So it really is a matter of what the scale is of of that product line, and if we can get more.
Okay, and this will be our last Q&A question. And for the designers here, what are some tips for game designers to understand and navigate the challenges of moving from concept to production, usually with overseas manufacturing? I'll start with Pete for this one.
Yeah, I think when you with your first prototypes, you don't need any sort of fancy parts or anything like that. So make sure you know exactly what is going to be in your game, I guess, from a component perspective. And that way, you know, it's a real pain in the ass to try to add components after you have things done with your manufacturer. It just adds to the expense. It's a nightmare as far as you get a new quote that costs a lot more. It just is bad. So just make sure you know, even at a baseline level, I'm going to have this many of this type of token. I'm going to have this many of this type of card. I'm going to have this many of this component. And then from there, there's things like, well, Protospiel is a great way to go and just identify exactly how much you need and you know exactly what types of components you need. There's organizations, I think, like the Game Crafter has some different kind of playtesting pieces that you can kind of visualize and use for prototypes. And then once you kind of have that down, you can kind of think, you can work with a manufacturer and just kind of say, like, what can you do? What are the different kind of cubes you can offer? What are the different meeples? What are those sort of things? Can you custom make certain things? That sort of thing. But just make sure you have all of your counts right, and then you can kind of start asking your manufacturer, or you can start asking any manufacturer, really, what are some of the options? What do you have in this? What type of material? What type of cardboard? What type of card stock? What do you have? And see how that can fit in with what all your components are. But make sure you have all the components down. Just make sure you have them down and don't change them.
Start with the small games. I said it before. Make a card game. Just make a card game first. Figure that out. Find someone you can trust. I'm gonna call on a guest if I can, but I would say, okay, finding a manufacturer that you can work with easily and navigate. So it might be worth paying a little bit more of a premium on your first game with an English-speaking, like, time zone present person can be probably really helpful. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know because I didn't do it that way, but that would have been nice, right? But also, yeah, Protospiel, man, anything you can do like that, because people are very giving and generous with their time and their information. And so people will just tell you what you want to know, and they'll even tell you how to ask the question better next time and all of that. So just talk to people, talk to publishers whenever you can, and pick their brain. Protospiel, yeah, great. Protospiel is, I don't know, it varies based on where you are in the world or in the country, but Protospiel takes the form often of like a playtesting centric convention. So think this, but only designers and playtesters, mostly also designers. So like everyone's there, but it's a great place to just go and bring your prototype or your half-finished game and just get feedback and try out ideas and iterate. It's a super powerful thing. And I know that there are two per year right now. But there's also just smaller events. So there's Design Day, which takes place at the source twice a month. Wherever you are, wherever that kind of thing is accessible, just find people and get those playtests in and just get information. I don't know, I go to Design Day, or I used to when I wasn't so busy, but I look forward to going back. I always go to Protospiel, and like, yeah, so find me, if nothing else. Like, I will tell you whatever you want to know, so there you go.
So I'm asking you all a question. Who is planning on making a game themselves? I'm just really curious about this. Or who has already made a game? I know there's a couple veterans in here. Okay, so we have a whole bunch of people. That's really amazing. If you, I do have a few business cards on me. If anyone does want one, I can give you one. I'd love to meet with you if you want feedback on packaging, on anything like that. I know what retailers want. I don't necessarily know what you want, but I can tell you what I want. And the other thing is, Produce Spiel, Minnesota just happened. Produce Spiel Twin Cities happens June. Very beginning of June, and yeah, they're both really wonderful, and everyone that's a part of them is really wonderful.
If you're willing to drive, there's Madison, Milwaukee, and Chicago too have them as well.
Well, my computer battery died, so it actually was perfect timing because that was really the conclusion anyway of everything, so it worked out. So one more round of applause for the panelists here. Special thanks for Ferry over there for getting all the lights and cameras set up for this. And again, we're talking cardboard. Also one round of applause to Con of the North for giving us the space and donating that to us too. Thanks so much for those that stuck around tonight. We really do appreciate your attention. And I know it's warm in here and it's getting late. But with that said, hope everyone has a great rest of your evening and a great rest of your Con of the North 2025. Thanks, guys.